Anyway, so I just wanted to welcome everyone to our very first spring semester PioPitch program. All right, turning it to Taylor.
I'm one of the student organizers, and our first presenter today is going to be Laura Palick, and she's the founder of the Marietta Marketplace. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura. Thank you.
Okay, well, there's my name. Thank goodness it's up there because I'm nervous. And I created a little venture called Marietta Marketplace. And I want to talk about that, but also another venture that I'm hoping to transition Marietta Marketplace into that's near and dear to my heart. So I work full-time in the Petroleum and Geology Department, and I love my job. People are great, so this is not like an escape plan for me. This is something that I would be doing in addition to what I do now. And I feed my creative side by having two little online shops on a website called Etsy. And if you're not familiar with Etsy, Etsy is a huge global e-commerce site. It's like this vast online mall, and we're all individual shop owners on Etsy. Right now there are probably close to 2 million sellers. So my shops are vintage. A lot of people, anything you can think of that can be made or created, you can find it on Etsy. So one thing I've learned over the last few years on Etsy, a lot of Etsy sellers are really looking to break away from the crowd and get their items noticed. It's very saturated now, especially with some categories like jewelry. So they're really hoping to get that big break and maybe a big wholesale order or get picked up and have their items in a shop. So I thought, why not create a little one-day event that would reach out to that type of seller in this area and bring them together for a day and showcase their items and give people a chance to meet the makers and the artists behind them and give people a chance to see these items up close and personal. And at the same time, create a nice little event downtown Marietta that would showcase Marietta as a cool little town and give people a reason to come to Marietta, just one more reason to visit and spend time. So that's how Marietta Marketplace was born 2 years ago. This is my logo. I'm a pop-up flea for the MOV, which is the Mid-Ohio Valley. And pop-up just means that I announce the dates and we come to town, we set up for a day. My location does not change. My location is on the Armory Square. So we fill the Armory Square with tents and we invite all the visitors and buyers. We heavily promote it. And it's just a great little event in downtown Marietta. The first year was 2014 and we had 2 events. And this is a couple photos of that first event. So you can see it's really festive. We're down on the Armory lawn, which if you don't know where that is, it's right on Front Street next to the post office. So the city, when they heard about my idea, they just jumped right on it. They love the idea of me being on the Armory lawn. It highlights that space that they're trying to promote. It's convenient, it's visible, it's accessible. This is not like a craft show where you just have tables of crafts. This is a full all-out. You have tents and booths. And the people, you can see we have the little brick walkways, and people can come and they browse the marketplace, and then hopefully they're going across the street or down the block. They're shopping in the stores, they're going to the restaurants, and it was just a really positive experience from day one. We had public support, we got great publicity. The vendors were really excited, and they were all promoting on their own websites. And even the merchants were so supportive, and they helped promote it too. So that first event in 2014, we had 14 vendors. This is just an example of some of the art. We set a standard for a good quality, diverse product, and the artists and the vendors are just excellent. And last year I had 4 events, and I ended the year with 26 vendors, the last one. So each one got a little bigger and a little better. This is my website, where I post all the promotions and the dates and the application processes online. And each event is different, but it's also similar. So we'll have different artists and vendors, but the format is the same. And we've had live music, we've had a wood carver demonstration, we've had Segway tours set up there, food truck, hot food, cold smoothies. And every event I promote a charity or a nonprofit. So we've had a food drive, a shoe drive, I provide prizes, and we'll have raffles and things like that. So now I'm looking at this year, and I'm hoping it'll be even bigger and better. And I want to to have some bigger events. I'm hoping to get a corporate sponsor for a tent that we might have some live entertainment and some adult beverages and things like that to really make it an event that people put it on their calendar and they look forward to coming. But while I've been doing this and getting involved in the city and working with community members, I really like downtown Marietta. And now I volunteer on Marietta Main Street, and I'm sitting on the Business Enhancement Committee. And the more I see and hear about Marietta and the ins and outs of doing business in Marietta, I'm convinced that I really want to have a permanent presence in downtown Marietta. And whoops, and this would be, okay, now I went backwards, Witten Winsey. And that is the name I have envisioned for my shop. It would be a retail shop in downtown Marietta. And one of the reasons I'm here today is I'm going to present my vision for a shop and what I think is a niche that could be filled in Marietta. And I really want some honest feedback. I could be off base, I could be on track. You might tell me I'm crazy, or maybe it's a good idea. So that's really why I'm here today, because this is a huge decision. I'm going to be investing time, money, and effort, and I want to make sure I'm on the right track. So my vision for Witten Winsey is a retail shop. First bullet point is just a sampling of some of the items that I'd be carrying. It's not all inclusive, but it gives you a good idea. And my demographic is the 18 to 35-year-old, college students, young professionals. That's not exclusive. If a 75-year-old grandmother walks in and falls in love with an item, that's great. But I thought if I target a demographic, it will help me focus and I'll have a more cohesive look to the shop. And I want somebody, when they walk into the shop, they kind of see a personality and they say, oh yeah, I get what she's doing here. I want products to be on trend, and not just trendy items, some classic and timeless, but I think in the Midwest a lot of times we're behind the trends a little bit. We catch them when they're on the way down. So I want to really closely watch that and have products that are fresh and current and things that people want to buy now instead of 6 months ago. And I feel really strongly about having my products locally made, handmade, made in the USA. The Etsy sellers and the vendors who work at the, show up at the Marietta Marketplace, those are the types of people that I want to use to source my inventory. So I want to support those people that are working out of their homes and their studios and use their products and give them a chance to showcase them. And if they grow and have their own business, that's great. The whole thing is to build up other people and not just make money on somebody else's talent and hard work. These are just some samples of some of the items. Some of these are just inspiration to me. And some of these are actually items that I would be carrying, especially the Clutch MOV line. And some of these were people that showed at Marietta Marketplace. And I've been in touch with these artists to see if they would, have something kind of exclusive to Witten Winsey. And of course, some vintage items that I search out and resell. Those would be kind of curated throughout the shop. So now the demographics. And this is where I think a niche needs to be filled. My location would be on Putnam or Front Street because I want to take advantage of a hub of activity, like the People's Bank Theater or Marietta Brewing Company, and they have evening traffic. My hours would be later because I don't think young people necessarily need to shop at 10 a.m. And that's great for some shops, but I think I would be opening at noon, which is my lunch hour here, and staying open till 8 or 9 p.m. And that way I can take advantage of the traffic downtown, going to dinner, before a show, and those people would have something to do and a shop to go to. I hear that's a need sometimes, especially now with the shows being more frequent. So I'd like to offer these people somewhere they can go in and do some shopping. I would also have some promotions events. If I'm going to carry a line from an artist, I'd have like a meet the artist, little reception, promote different people in the shop, and also have some seller workshops where we can help each other hone our business skills. And then some community events where I really want to be engaged in the community. So like a workshop, right now you drink wine and do a painting and go home with it, something like that, maybe with a different twist. And one thing I know is a reality. I have to have social media skills. I have to have an online presence. I know I've done the math, and relying on walk-in traffic to generate enough revenue would not work, especially early on. So I already know that I would be contracting Holly Casco Creative to revamp a website and set it up for e-commerce and make it attractive and user-friendly. So my inventory would come from a couple different sources. Some would be consignment, where the vendor puts it in the shop, and I don't have to have money up front for that. Some would be commissions exclusively for my shop, and so if you want that item, you're either gonna have to go online or come down to the shop to get it. Some of it would be wholesale, that I would have to have the money up front and buy it wholesale, but then I can do as I wish with it and price it as I want. And then some would be vintage, quality vintage items that I'd be seeking out to resell. And my aesthetic, these are just some of my inspirational pins. A little bit urban, rustic, eclectic. I want to have some creative displays and kind of quirky, where it changes a little every time you come in. It might be different, unless you come in every day, then it might be the same. But I really want to have a deep inventory, layered inventory. So when you walk in, that first 30 seconds, I don't want you to look around and say, oh, there's nothing in here I'm interested in, and you have to back out as I'm waiting to you from behind the counter. If you've been to Simple Pleasures on Front Street, I think he does an excellent job of curating his shop. And so that's what I want to achieve. I want my windows to draw you in, my window displays, and then I want my inventory to keep you there. And take time and browse and flip through the art prints and check to see what's new. So that's really what I'm trying to achieve, and that's my vision for Whit & Whimsy. One thing I want to make clear is that I'm not trying to duplicate another shop or overlap or copy, because we have excellent shops downtown that I think are just doing a great job. So I'm not trying to duplicate what's already being done. I think I've identified this niche that needs to be filled, that I don't see that particular niche filled. And so I could be wrong, and that's why I'm here today. But I think that this is something that would really benefit Marietta. So that is my vision for Whit & Whimsy. When you see a new shop open in town, is there something that tells you right away, oh, this one's gonna make it, or this one might struggle a little bit? Or when you see a shop that has been there 6 months and suddenly they're not there anymore, is there something you feel like they really missed something obvious? I want to make sure that I have all the bases covered before I start this endeavor. And if there's any advice of things to really, dot your I's and cross your T's, that I would, be helpful to know that. So I welcome any comments about that.
Well, first of all, let me just say I love your idea, Laura. I really do. And a couple things that I really, really liked that I think are, really appealing to me is the extended hours. That is, and then with your ideas with the window displays. I think those things are really, really important. I think, and generally, in my world, a lot of times what we like to see, or what we see as successful for a startup business, is for you to be able to sustain that business for a couple of years, have enough capital going in to just kind of figure that I'm not going to take a paycheck for a couple of years. And then also with that, having the money to market it. I love the social media marketing, but and I guess my question back to you is, what are your plans, outside of social media to market it? Because, when I'm downtown, I don't see a lot of young people. So how are you planning to captivate them to bring them downtown?
I know it's not just students. There are a lot of young people that aren't here at Marietta College, but to offer incentives, whether it's a loyalty type program or, sale flyers when they come on campus in the fall in their, packets. And yeah, it does, that is a really big effort, and I know that because from what I've observed and the efforts that other people have put into trying to get people downtown. So that's something that is definitely a big project, and hopefully the help of an intern too would help connect with that age group.
A lot of times in the small business, we'll see owners that will start businesses and, they may be there for a week or so and then, they're gone, and, expecting that business to run on its own. But it sounds to me like you already have a plan that you're going to be present there, and, and you're going to have that. So, a lot of times that just determines that, because the owner takes ownership. You see what's happening with customer service. You see how things are, what's happening in the store, and that means a lot.
you hit on some points that really I was thinking about when you were talking. The most important thing that I think you said is a face to identify a store. Coming from Terry Ann's, which is where I work, Terry Ann is there, and she's been a very successful business for 50-some years, and I think it's because that store is identified with that person. So whenever you come in, you see you in that store from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 6 days a week. It is such a commitment to have a store. So I guess, to me, if I was wanting to open up a store, can I actually give that amount of time, day in and day out, for at least 2 years? And then you were talking about your demographics as being 18 to 25-year-olds?
35.
35.
But that's just a rough, looking at young professionals.
You have to sell a lot of product to make your rent payment, to have your inventory, a deep inventory, I think is how you put it, which is so important. You have to sell a lot of beautiful necklaces. That one necklace I saw with the chain and the pretty love or whatever you had on it, it takes a lot of inventory to reach that $1,000 a month rent payment. And I guess I was thinking, how do you really get those students that we have never, the students have never embraced downtown. I mean, they're doing other things. I see somebody shaking their head in front of me. You know, they just don't come downtown. That's a huge question.
They go downtown for other stuff.
Well, yeah, because they don't have that ability to spend that extra $50 for, you know, they're going different ways with that $50 if they're going to spend it. So I guess it's going to be a tough to get them to come into the store, as inviting as it may seem. And so that was a question. And then the last thing is, I think is huge, is you have to, it seems so important to make them always feel welcome. You know, it takes such energy to always make that customer, when they come in the door, to feel like they're such an important part of what's making you successful.
I do know that, and when I crunch the numbers, if my average price point was $25 and what I estimate would be my net, I would have to sell 22 items a day just to break even. And that's why I realize that that's why not, you know, there aren't more people having shops downtown. So that's why this is going to be a long planning process and preparation if I go forward. And that's why I'm here today, to ask people, would you shop downtown? Especially students, when you go back to your hometown, wherever, especially if you live in a larger city, what type of store do you go to when you go back home? Not, if you don't need a particular pair of jeans, you know, we know you have to go to a specific store. If you have money in your pocket and you just want to do some recreational shopping, what type of store do you go to time and again? Is this something that would appeal to you? Would you go downtown for this, or is this not something that you think is worth walking the 3-4 blocks?
But the recreational shopping aspect is there for me. It's something that my wife and I will go into a store, we'll look around, we'll kind of comb through shelves and looking at, you know, where's that interesting little thing, or there's some little product, clothing, whatever it is that I say, oh, that would be a great gift for so-and-so. But it requires me, and I want that inventory. I really do. I don't want to walk in, like you said, I don't want to be there 30 seconds and say, oh, no, and have that awkward goodbye to you. I want to say, there's a lot in here, and looking through it, and hopefully I find something, but if I don't, you know, I could come back in a few days and look again, and there could be something different. So I think that's key. When we've talked about this a little before, what's the best approach to build up that inventory when you might not have the purchasing behavior there yet, right? So how do you actually build that inventory on a budget? And so I unfortunately don't have that answer. I know you put up some potential ways of doing that. Can you go back to those, and maybe someone has a suggestion, or you can explain those a little more?
On consignment, the vendor has the opportunity to put their items in my shop, but they have to wait for the money until the item sells. And then typically, a lot of places charge 30, as much as 40% commission I would only charge 25 because again, I'm trying to help other people too. And that, if they put it in on commission, on consignment, they get to advertise themselves. They get to have the little hang tag or the card on the display and actually promote themselves at the same time. If I buy at wholesale, then the item's mine. It might say made by in small, on a small tag, but it's mine to do what I want with, and I can price the markup as I wish. The commissioning the exclusive items would be me approaching an artist. Maybe they already have something in 2 other shops in town, but me saying, look, if you come up with something that isn't being sold in another shop in Marietta, we'll carry your line, and then we negotiate whether it's wholesale or commission. And of course, vintage items, that's just me reselling items that I buy.
What do you think your best margin is?
Well, the best profit margin, I mean, the easiest startup would be the consignment. The markup on the wholesale would probably be the best profit margin if I can buy them low enough, and sell them at a decent price. So that is, that's something else to look at because, when I did my little estimate of what it would take to sustain my expenses and meet those, expenses, I was kind of averaging if half my sales were commission and half were wholesale, and that's what I came up with. And so, and again, I think one of the niches that we need are more products for guys. I think a lot of our shops are very female friendly and the guys are kind of tagging along and they get bored. I want a guy to come in and be able to enjoy browsing just as much as a girl and find as many things, whether it's vintage vinyl or some really cool grooming supplies or whatever. So that is something that I feel like we need to address too. My last question for people, because since it's important to me to have the locally made and the handmade, does it matter to people? I know that's really a buzzword right now, shop local, shop small, but do you look at the tag? Are you willing to pay a couple dollars more if you know that the item is locally made or handcrafted in the US, in Ohio? I'd like to get some opinions on just how important that is to people who are buying. A lot of people it's the experience of knowing that you're buying something that was made locally and there's a story behind it. But when it comes down to spending your money, are you willing to spend a couple extra dollars for that?